Oh goodness. Okay. No more port forwarding. Yes. No more DDNS. Yes. Guess what? This works with your satellite internet. This works with your cellular internet. Yes and yes.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of our In the Trenches Roundtable series. Today we're doing a feature focus. We're going to be focusing on Star for Live. And we'll jump into the details of what this even is. That might have sounded like gibberish to a lot of us, but I want to start by first introducing the panel. We've got our usual awesome panel here. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Awesome. So I'll start by laying out how we're going to break this video down. We're going to start with what exactly even is Star for Live. That'll be section 1. Section 2 is going to be the basic setup. The third section will be the management of the Star for Life portal. And then the final section, the fourth section, we'll get our panel's final thoughts on Star for Live, who's it for, why you should use it, all of that jazz. So without further ado, let's talk about what Star for Live really is. So panel, I'll open it up to anybody. Help me understand what Star for Life actually is.
I'll help. So Star for Life is your cloud access for the Admiral Imperial Corporal line of recorders. It's a way that is more secure than the traditional port forwarding and stuff, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, it's super easy, and yeah, it's great. We love it. Support loves it.
Yeah, I think, even to rephrase, it's a way to access your NVR remotely. It's a service that facilitates that connection between your NVR and your smartphone remotely. I think that's the best way of putting it, maybe. And it does it in a way that's anybody can do without needing to be a network expert. I think is the key point.
Yes, very good point. It's super, super easy. If you can use your smartphone, you can connect your system to your account on your phone. It's great.
Awesome. So when we talk about Star for Live, we're talking about a cloud relay service that is used only for remotely viewing, yeah?
Yeah,
Correct.
there's no kind of cloud storage or anything like that. It's not turning it into a cloud NVR. All your storage is still on your NVR specifically. There's no cloud storage component to it. That is a really good question, Ben. I always try to make that point because when people hear cloud, they usually think cloud storage. And in this case, this is just a way for your device, whether that's your phone, your laptop. We'll talk about all that, but your device to talk to your NVR or your NVRs plural. So
In other words, if you're sitting there and you're watching your camera's on your cell phone and you're out and about the town using your cell phone connection to watch the video, you might use Star for Live in order to talk to your NVR. But it's not sending the video through a server. There's no server involved. You're talking directly to the hardware that you own that is on location. What Star for Live is doing is keeping track of where that location is. How do I get to it?
That's good. That's great. All right. So how do I access my NVR via Star for Live then?
So there are multiple ways. The first way is, and the easiest way, honestly, is going to be your SCW Go application. That's where you can do the easiest setup right from your phone. You scan a QR code with the app, connects your system to it. A lot of people that support talks to will find or will help initially connect the system that way, and then we can educate on accessing it through a web portal so you can get into more of the settings and things like that, setting up your schedules. Maybe you have some image settings that you want to adjust. You can do that through the web portal by going to os.starforlive.com and just signing into the same account that you created on your phone. And you can also connect that same account into your SCW View Station application, and any connection that you have to any NVR will just automatically appear there. It's super, super user friendly.
Yeah, I think even to clarify a little bit more, so SCW Go is our mobile app, so you can literally grab your phone, scan the QR code on the back and add it there. Or you can also, add it to your account, which support will gladly help out with, and we have guides on that too. But after that, imagine and this is especially useful once you get multiple NVRs and multiple locations. because the traditional ways you have to go into your phone, you have to add every camera's IP address or NVR's IP address, excuse me, or DNS record, and put them in there. Now all you have to do is log into your account, and it's going to automatically import all of your systems. It's really nice, especially if you end up getting a new phone, or you have some turnover, and you need to switch people out. It's really good for that too. So, and then ViewStation is our desktop for Mac or PC that can you can add same kind of a similar thing. You log in with your account, and it's going to import all those NVRs. So just to kind of clarify how that works a little bit more.
All right, so now that I understand how I'm going to access it using Star for Life and the different programs and apps we offer, do I have to port forward?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, and that's the key benefit of Star for Live, is not having to port forward. So again, with this sort of on-premise architecture with an NVR and a user that's using like a cell phone, it's making a direct connection. It's not going up to the cloud first. The footage isn't stored in the cloud. It's sitting on that hard drive that you purchased inside the NVR, and it's using your internet connection from your local connection where your office is, or wherever you have the NVR, and then wherever you are as a mobile user, and it's sending it directly in a peer-to-peer connection. Normally, when you're making a peer-to-peer connection back to a home network, you have to open these ports. And opening a port is allowing traffic in and out on a dedicated channel into your local area network. And so that's not a very secure thing to do, though. That's not really something you want to do. And what Star for Live does is it basically opens the door when you're using it and closes it when you're done. And so it's keeping track of what is my IP address, what are the ports I can possibly communicate on, whether or not those are accessible, and how do I reach it? That's really what it's doing. It's not moving your video to the cloud. It's not sending your video through a server. If it's down, it's probably your internet connection at your location, at your office or on your cell phone. It could be either one of those. It's not sending the video through any third party at all. But it is remembering all the technical information about what is your IP address, what are the ports, how do I access this? You don't have to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think
Nice.
to add on to that too, typically the way port forwarding is two things. Number one is it's not very secure at all. It opens up the device to anybody who can access it, and that doesn't just mean you and your employees, or people who need to access the system. That means that somebody in Russia can access your login screen and attempt to put in a password, or attempt to do anything that they kind of want from that end, exploits, etc. So that's why it's not secure. The door, as Matthew said, is kind of open all the time. And I think with Star for Live 2, it typically communicates through something called UPnP, which is sort of automatic negotiated port forwarding, I guess you could say. But they also use like random ports, so it's a lot harder to kind of track, and see that door being open as well. So that's another kind of benefit of it.
Nice. Oh, so, I mean, this sounds amazing. What NVRs did we offer that support Star for Life?
That
So
would be, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. You got it.
I was just gonna go through the list. That is our Admiral line, all versions of our Admiral line. We think we're on version 3 now, so all 3 versions of the Admirals, the Imperials, both versions, and our Corporal series, both versions of it.
That's great. So what kind of customer should be interested in using this type of service?
So if you were considering opening ports, this is a lot more secure, and it's actually easier. You don't have to remember the technical information. All you've got to do is sort of log into something, scan a QR code. It's easier on you. That being said, opening ports is something that a big section of our clients would never even consider. So if you are in network administration and you know about things like VLANs or VPNs, those are much more secure ways of setting up your camera system. And this sort of product is not designed for you. You should continue using your VPN if you are capable of doing something. That's always going to be best practice for us. That's a much more secure way of doing that.
Well, Star for Life sounds really awesome, panel. How much does it cost?
Nothing. It's totally free to anybody who has a system that supports it.
What?
Yep.
That's wild.
The reason why it's free is it's really lightweight. All it's really doing is keeping track of where your device is on the internet, in other words, your IP address, and how do I talk to it? What are my different routes that I could talk to this? What ports are available to me to be able to communicate? Tries to rotate those a little bit. But it's not moving your video to the cloud. It's not changing where you log in. You still have to enter your network connection to your local connection. It's not changing the application. Where does the application run? Like a cloud managed service where you're logging into the cloud. The amount of why it's free is because it's not a very big application. It doesn't cost a lot to run.
Perfectly
So what
said.
other functions does Star for Live provide?
It does. So one of the questions we get all the time, and this probably is a video topic in itself, we'll eventually do, is notifications, and specifically notifications on your phone. So if you want push notifications to your phone that's not using the email that's built into the NVR function, you do need to have a Star for Live account to get that. So that's another added benefit, is you can get push notifications for ideally VCA events like line crossing or intrusion detection.
So who exactly runs Star for Live?
Star for Live is provided by our manufacturer of the Admiral and Imperial line cameras. That's why it's available on those lines and not, say, earlier lines. And it is hosted in AWS in the United States, but it is provided by that end manufacturer that we work with and partner with out of China.
Awesome. That's great. That'll wrap up section 1. Let's dive right into section 2, some basic setup info. So I'll start with Michael. How
Yeah.
exactly, can you walk me through a little bit of the process of like, how do I create or set up an account?
So there's actually multiple ways. Most people find it easiest to do it through their phone app, the SCW Go app. So whenever you first open that up, it's going to ask you to log in, but then you're also going to notice that there's a sign up option, and that is where you can create your account. You can also go to the Star for Live web portal, which is os.star4live.com. That is the number 4 in there, by the way. And you can create your account there, pretty much the web portal or through the phone app itself.
Perfect. All right, so I've created myself an account. How do I add the NVR?
Yeah, so the NVR itself has a section called P2P under its networking section in the menu. So easiest way, menu, network, click on the P2P option. It's a tab at the top. There you will see a QR code. On your phone, you just open it up, go into menu, devices, and hit the little add button at the very top. And there you will choose the scan option. And then all you have to do is scan that QR code with your phone. It'll automatically go to the next screen where you can label what that system is. Most people will just put home if that's their home system, maybe a street name or something like that. Businesses, I notice they put more locations based on cities, or maybe the street if they have multiple locations in the same city. But yeah, that's what other people will see if you share access to them. So make sure you label that, to your particular needs. Hit save, give it a couple minutes to communicate with the cloud, start live view. Easiest thing.
Love it. It's a great segue. How exactly do I share the NVR now that it's added?
There's a couple. I mean, like, I think the key point Michael's saying here is, like, you can do it from multiple platforms, right? You can do it from your
Absolutely.
phone. You can do it from the web. And that's the same for when you want to share a device. So on your phone, you go to your device list, you'll see it there. You hit the little 3 icons and you're going to see a share button. And from there, you can share it with their username on Star for Live, and you can share
Or their
it,
email.
or yeah, you can do their email now too. So and then you can choose what permissions they have, and the same thing on the web. So you go into your web, you hit share, you're going to see username or email, and then you can share it with that person, select the permission levels and everything like that you want to do.
All right, so where exactly is the QR code located?
It's actually in a lot of different places. So like Michael mentioned earlier, you can go into the menu, either actually on the local interface or into the web portal and go to the P2P menu.
Yep.
And you'll see the QR code there. But it's also actually physically on a label on the NVR. So if you look on the back of the NVR, there'll be a label with a QR code that you can scan. And then also, if like the NVR is in like an awkward position or kind of in a server closet or something like that, and you can't access that, If you still have the booklet that came with the NVR, there's going to be a QR code on that. That's the same QR code, so you can scan that and make it a little bit more easily. In fact, I know some of our customers will grab that QR code and actually just paste it on or tape it onto the top, I should say. And that way they have easy access in case, it's in a position where they can't really lift the NVR or something like that.
Awesome. So perfect segue into section 3, which we're going to be covering the management portal. And we should start by first covering how exactly we access that management portal.
Yeah, so you can get to the web interface or the management portal through os.star4live.com, and you can just sign right into your account there.
Awesome. So I access the management portal. I'm in there. I create an account or I do what I need to. How do I actually share devices?
Yeah, so from the management portal, there's actually a share option after you've added the system to your own account. We call the person who scanned the QR code initially the super admin in support. It just makes things a little bit easier for our brains. But whoever is the super admin for the system will be the person responsible with sharing access to other users. So right there on that web access portal, you hit the share button, type in the username or the email address, which is preferred, set their validation period, and then their level of permissions. You can select there as well. James, you want to talk a little bit about the permission levels?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to clarify. Is there can only be one account owner or super admin, as Michael said, that owns the system. So once you share it to somebody, that person can't share it themselves. You have to go through that initial super admin to share. So that's a one key point. So you want to make sure that the super admin is the right person who should be, whose job responsibility might be to share that, I think. But talking about permission, like when you look at the drop down, you're going to see, share to, you're going to see valid until, which is, you're going to want to select the time period. By default, it is 30 days. So you want to make sure if it is more of a permanent employee, you want to maybe set that to a couple of years or decades, maybe in advance. And then the permission level. And so this permission level, depending on, is going to come straight from your NVR that you're sharing. So that's going to be the usernames on the NVR. So you can have up to 32 different users, and Star for Live uses them less as like a username and password because you're not sharing the username and password with somebody. You're just simply sharing that permission level. So some people will set up like generic permission level ones up so they can say like, hey, this person has access to all the cameras, but they can't do playback, or they can look at all the cameras, they can do playback, but they can't control the PTZs. So you can set up 32 different users in the NVR and share that way. But you do have to do that through the NVR, through the account settings there. But once you select that in Star for Live, you'll select it, and then you have some notes that you can put in, and then you can hit OK, and they're going to be able to log into their phone or their view station and have access to that NVR at that point. So,
But they're, just so you know, their account needs to be created within the Star for Live system before you can share it to them.
yep, good point.
And one thing that myself and my team, we do, especially for corporations or, small businesses, for the levels of permissions that you enter into the NVR, so the users there, we'll do, of course, the super admin who gets admin access. We'll do a manager access. We'll do even an employee access, especially for things like places that close at night, and maybe they have some cameras looking at the parking lot in the back of the building where the employees park, just to make sure it's safe. They only need to see a couple of cameras on live view, so they'll just throw that in there and give a little bit of security to their employees, which is, I'm sure, very grateful for those employees. So that helps out a lot. I do have one question about this particular type of setup for a business, and I wanted to ask you, James. A lot of times we have like an IT person or a tech person who takes care of the system for a company. What are your thoughts on that person sharing their username and password with somebody else? So just in case one of them leave, that other person still has access and they don't have to reshare access to an entire system to all the different users.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably, okay, if you're a business and you should probably create something high enough level to almost like a generic email to where you always have access. So if somebody leaves, you can do the forgot password link and reset your password. And then that way you're not linking it to John Smith, your IT director at the time, Because when John Smith leaves, it's going to be a lot more difficult to maybe get that account back, or so you want to make sure that you have it set up in a way that you can recover that email is kind of, I guess, the key point there.
Hmm. Cool.
So yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on your scenario. Some installers will set their own installer account and they'll have all their customers under that, and then they share the access to the customer because that tends to be kind of easier for them. Or it allows them to be able to quickly access if there's any kind of issues with it, which I think is a really big feature of it. Because if you're an installer and you have 100 devices, this kind of takes a lot of that workload off of you to be able to just go in and say like, okay, hey, my customer's having an issue. Let me scroll through. I can organize it. There's some organization features within the web portal, and you can search for them and easily find them and bring their system up and start to check out the issue. Okay, hey, they needed to turn on WDR.
Yep.
And instead of having to go to the location, instead of having to figure out what their DDNS is or IP was or whatever, you can go ahead and just click that link and go in. It's pretty nice.
Definitely. Awesome. I mean, that's super helpful. So, kind of staying on this permission levels and the management of Star for Live and devices being shared. How do I revoke access? Like, can I revoke access?
Absolutely. If you are the super admin for your system, all you have to do is log in to either the app on your phone. You can see everybody who you shared access with there. I believe that one's under the Me option. Yes, there you go. So it's under the Me option within the app. So hit the menu, click on the Me option, and then there's the option for my sharing. I'm sure there'll be a nice little, picture there. But there you can see everybody who you've shared with, tap on whoever you want to remove, and then hit cancel sharing. You can also do it through the os.starforlive.com web portal. You can see everybody that you've shared with as well. I believe it's on the view station also. James, can you back me up on that one? I can't
Yeah, I haven't
remember.
really used it through there, honestly, but I think you can. But typically, I would just, for most cases, if you're on the web browser, just go to that sharing records tab at the top there, and then you're going to see a little trash can icon, and you can revoke from there if you want to.
Mhm.
On the topic of passwords, can I reset my NVR's password from Star for Life?
Absolutely. You can actually do it from the SCW Go app, or you can do it from the os.starforlive.com as well. There's a couple different ways to do it. If you have questions about it, support is here for you. We're happy to help.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. So those are the three main sections. We're going to slide right into section 4 as we start to wrap this up and gather some final thoughts. We're going to go, around the table here, and we'll start with James. Why don't you give us your final thoughts on Star for Life?
I guess my final thoughts are, 5 or 6 years ago, even further back, you had to do port forwarding. You had to set the NVR to, and let me tell you the steps on that. You have to set the NVR to a static IP address on your local network. Then you have to go into your router, and then you have to set the port forwarding there. Then you got to figure out, do I have a static IP address on my internet or a dynamic IP address on my internet? And then if you have a dynamic, you have to set up a DDNS. And then, so all this stuff is now eliminated by using Star for Live. That's kind of, and the security benefits are much better than port forwarding as well, which is great. But I think the nice thing is you can literally plug in your NVR, plug in your cameras, find that QR code, scan it, and that's the extent of what you have to set up for remote access. You don't even have to give the static IP address to your NVR anymore on your local network. It'll work through DHCP too. So there's a lot, the ease of use and the ease of setup. It turned what used to be, an hour, 2 hour long call with us on the support team to, a 10-minute thing, really. So
That's great. Matt, final thoughts on Star for Life?
I would go back to a little bit of the security thing. Like if you're the type of client who's creating source code, dealing with HIPAA data, or um, dealing with people's social security numbers or any sort of identity information, use a VPN. You should be having network security as part of your internal network, and you should be using that. But if you're not that sort of client, this is so much more secure than the old way of doing things. This is so much better than opening a port. This is so much more convenient than opening a port. It's so much easier to share with other people or revoke access. There's so many things to like. And for that type of client, that isn't dealing with that sort of sensitive data, this is a fantastic way of accessing your device. It's more convenient, more secure than the old way, etc.
Awesome. That's a really good point. And then Michael, final thoughts on Star for Live.
Oh goodness. Okay. No more port forwarding. Yes. No more DDNS. Yes. Guess what? This works with your satellite internet. This works with your cellular internet. Yes and yes. And we get to talk about other things during our phone call because it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to set this up.
Boom. Yes. That's it. Mic drop. Final thoughts on Star for Live is yes. That's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the time, experts. Really, really appreciate it. Always love jumping into these featured focus episodes. We hope you enjoyed, watchers, listeners at home. We hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments or questions, drop them in the comments below. Reach out to our support or sales team. We're happy to help in any way. Any of the other videos or guides that we referenced, they will be in the description below as well. So thanks again for tuning into this episode of the In the Trenches Roundtable feature focus on Star for Live. Thanks so much, everyone.
See ya.